YouTube, welcome to the top 16 every single week by watching as long as you can, even if on in the background. That greatly supports these videos. With that said, Hajime.
There can only be one winner, and you're looking at it. Let's go.
Bonfire ad from the deck, our Snake Eye Ash, as we now summon the Volcanics. Popping the Poplar from in hand to grab a Ponix. That will trigger the Ponix to summon itself onto the field. We're going to be reacting with a Maxi to draw per special summon. We're going to call with the Grave, finger that Maxi, negate. And with that, we have no other forms of disruption, so we should just speed this up in game. Let's now talk about this field. And we talked about the analytics of the highest win rate of those using Shield Bearer. And just like that, what is the Shield Bearer? Why is it so good? It is essentially a fourth copy of Rapangu, and that's all it is. Now, what are the disruptions here? We have triple monster negate on the Apollo. We have destroy a monster or a continuous spell trap with the Ghost Ogre, which will work against the Ritual Beast Inheritance. We then, with the Ambler Whale, we're going to be able to Reborn from the Graveyard, the Masquerena for a double Little Knight Banish play. The Ambler Whale is also going to pop a card in the field. The Promethean on the opponent's special summoning will destroy a monster on the field. The Kirin is going to non-target destroy a card in the field. That is 9 disruption. Do we have in grave another disruption? We have 9. 9 disrupt. We could turn it into 10. As the Sacred Garunix could grab from the deck a monster negate. So I will call this 10 disruptions. We're in trouble. Shield Bearer, don't negate this. No way, why negate that, mate? That is such a bait. We're now down, you went from 10 disruptions to 9. Ritual Beast Inheritance, activate. Well, we may as well use the Ogre. Ogre, destroy. A continuous spell trap being destroyed in response to it activating. It resolves without an effect. We're now down to just 8 disruptions left. Rapangu activating the effect, taking up our normal summon. Apollo USA, negate. Now down to 7 disruption. We're going to Kirin at the end of the main phase, pop the Ambler Whale. Ambler Whale, reborn the Masquerena, trigger the Garunix to come forth and summon and pop from the deck. What are we popping? We're going to be popping the Monster Negate, surely mates. Masquerena is ready to go into the Little Knight. Sacred Garunix popping from the deck the Arvata. Arvata triggered a reborn the Ponix. We did not use Masquerena because at the start of the battle phase, we can make a Link Rebo reborn from the grave by tributing over the level 1 to reduce the opposing attack to 0 attack. And just like that, 7 disruptions left. And Ritual Beast ends their turn. Let's now quickly finish up this duel. By popping Kirin, Kirin will reborn the Arvata for an additional monster negate, plus the Kirin popping a card in the field. Pop the Ash from in hand. Just like that, 8,500 damage, taking this into a game number 2. Lethal damage. We went first. We won. Now Ritual Beast goes first. Let's go. Starting off with the Dimension Shifter, as it has to be the first card we activate. We have to chain Maxi, otherwise Maxi cannot be activated under the effect of Shifter because the cost is it must be sent to the grave. We're going to chain Emergency Teleport to summon for the deck as the Ash is going to hold on to its effect here. Ending our turn. You know, we got Maxi, so it makes sense. Now, at the end of the turn, the Laura's triggering from being banished to summon a monster from the deck. Ash will be negating that, even though it would have drawn us a free card. And it was able to summon a Winda, right? Winda, draw a card. Arvata for normal summon. Looks like we needed that additional. Well, we are under Dimension Shifter, which is why we didn't want to make any big plays here. We have Monster Negate plus Impermanence. Double disruption. Let's see what's good. Shield Bearer is going to be searching our deck for the Rapangu. This time we're not going to be negating it. This cannot be impermed. I mean, it can. It just does nothing. It's essentially a trigger effect, which does not start a chain link. It's immediately a continuous effect that applies a lingering effect that allows you to additional summon. And even if you negate it afterward, as I just said, it does not negate it. You get that additional summon. Rapangu, Imperm, negates. We're now down to Arvata being our only other form of disruption to negate a monster effect. But when it negates, it doesn't destroy. We're going to summon the Canahawk. Canahawk is going to be searching our deck for a Tamer Laura. We're going to be banishing from the graveyard to come forth and summon our Nochi, triggering the Tamer Lore to summon from the deck, and just like that, we are using our final form of disruption, Negate. Now from here, as they have no more disruptions left, what can we do? We're going to use the Canahawk to return 2 Ritual Beasts back in the field. Now, every Ritual Beast that's not from the extra deck has the effect of they can only be special summoned once per turn. Repangu and Elder will not be special summonable again. And it's essentially the main currency of the deck. You want to get to as many Ritual Beast monsters as possible and then special summon them onto the field. So Tamer Laura has also been special summoned. We have special summoned 3 of our Ritual Beasts. Grab an Apelio, we're going to use the Ulti Kimu to additional normal summon the Apelio. Banishing from Engrave the Wen. Ulti Canahawk is going to be summoning 2 more Ritual Beasts. So this is 5 Ritual Beasts which have been special summoned. As we then make the rank 4 Xyz into the Protoss play. Banshee searching for the Nemesis Flag. Nemesis Flag is going to be returning a banished card back. And then searching for the Protoss. No Protoss. Why no Protoss? Am I missing something? We're not under Droll and Lockbird. I mean, we literally searched. Why couldn't we search? All right, why didn't we? It's not why couldn't we? Why did we not search? Diablo Star setting up the original Sinful. Now, the Ulti Ray has the ability during the opponent's turn only to quick effect banish a Ritual Beast card you control plus 1 card the opponent controls. And just like that, back to you. Now, there is an interesting ruling tidbit I will want to bring up here just for some knowledge on your part here. We have the Ulti Ray. I'm going to pop this up here. So Ulti Ray, not this ruling is too relevant, but it kind of is. It's good for overall knowledge versus Escape. Why are these cards different? These 2 cards, Escape of the Unchained, so we could have less clutter here. These 2 cards are very similar, but also very different. The Ulti Ray states that you target a Ritual Beast card and 1 card your opponent controls, banish them. So let's highlight that. Banish them, as you can see here, banish them. And then you have the Escape, which says target an Unchained card you control and 1 card in the field, destroy both. Destroy both is different than saying to destroy them, as you can see right there. So what this means is, if one of the cards you're targeting with the Escape of Unchained leaves the field, the other card does not get destroyed. But with the Ritual Beast Ulti Ray, because it says get rid of them, even if one of the cards leave, which is part of how you use this card, you'll target your own fusion monster plus a card the opponent controls, and then have your own card jump off the field, and then now the other card will still get banished, where it does not work with Escape. So just understand the differences there, and then you could apply that knowledge to many other cards to know, hey, does that card still need to be there? If it leaves the field, does the effect still resolve? This one, it still goes through. This one, it does not resolve. And Little Knight works like Escape, not like Ulti Ray. We're going to banish from Engrave to come forth and summon the Ulti Nochi, triggering the Lore to summon from the deck a Repangu, Tamer Laura, reborn from Engrave the Ulti Kimu, Ulti Ray return a banished card back to her hand to then perform an additional summon, but boost up the field by plus 500. Boost to over 13,000 damage on the field, and just like that. Can I really say Ritual Beast won? The player who went first won, right? Snake Eye Fire King went first, they won. Ritual Beast went first, they won. Hopefully we could have a little bit of a shake-up for Game 3 and not just whoever goes first wins. Ponix on summon, searching for the Fire King Sanctuary. We do have Nibiru, but Snake Eye Fire King can play around Nibiru. Will we see that play happen? We have a very interesting situation here. We have Promethean Engrave, which requires us to have a fire monster on field in order to pop it to special summon and pop an opposing monster. No fire, no fire. But we have Kirin. Kirin could summon from the hand only by popping a fire monster in our hand or in the field. Not a fire, not a fire, not a fire. So from what I'm gathering here, we do not have a way to get a fire on the field to trigger the effect of the Sacred Garunix or to trigger the effect of Promethean Princess. I'm thinking Maxi is our only way to draw into our fire monster. and it probably will go through unless the crossout designate is used on the Maxi. There's a scenario where the crossout is instead used to negate a Veiler if we're playing it and they use Veiler early. And this is what I talk about, protecting your Maxi. If I have Maxi plus other hand traps and the opponent may have a Call by the Grave or a crossout designate, trick them into negating your other hand trap, holding onto your Maxi for a later play. Well, Ponix just added that whole discussion of not having a fire out the window because we have Ponix add back. Wow. Okay, never mind. There you go. Kieran can pop Ponix summon, and then the Garunix and the Promethean are gonna, but still, what I said about Maxi still holds true. Bait your other hand traps before using Maxi. We're gonna use Ogre, great bait for the finger, no finger for the Ogre, stopping the inheritance from searching for a Ritual Beast card as we follow up Emergency Teleport. Now that we're confident they don't have a finger, we're gonna max C, but then the crossout designate negates. Now crossout would not negate Ogre because Ogre is too rare of a card to expect to be played in someone's deck, which you have to banish a copy of the same card you're negating. Say goodbye to the Maxi from the deck as we summon the Tamer, and now we are going to be popping off. Summon the Kieran, trigger the Garunix. Garunix is gonna pop from the deck an Arvata. Arvata will trigger to Reborn from Engrave the Ponix. We're gonna go straight to battle. We're gonna use the Link Karibo at the start of the battle phase. You need your toggle on for this play. On the attack declaration, if you summon the Link Karibo, it does not work. Tamer Laura is gonna protect the Rapengu, and then within the damage step, summon a Winda. What's so important about these damage step plays, Laura in the damage step, Winda in the damage step, is that Promethean Princess cannot activate. And we really want Promethean Princess to activate because it needs to pop the Kieran, which will then reborn the Arvata to then pop a card in the field and give us a monster negate. But the damage step is too strong. Again, damage step. We can't get that pop and monster negate because of the damage step. And you could just look at the sub steps within the battle phase there. Veiler, negate that Rapengu. We have to know that there's a Promethean. It's public knowledge. As long as we don't special summon, the Promethean will not trigger. We're not going to special summon, but we're going to add back a Tamer Lord to then normal summon. Now we're specialing. This is where it's going to go downhill, right? It's over from here. Little Knight. This is very interesting. Little Knight can stop the summon of Promethean. This is where you have to understand the rulings here. Let's read Promethean. Promethean Princess states that target a fire you control and one monster your opponent controls, destroy them if you do special summon this card. When it says destroy them, it means it has to destroy at least one of them. It doesn't have to destroy both in order to special summon. So if we banish both the cards that are being targeted by Promethean, Promethean will not be summoned, and we're going to stop the Kieran from being destroyed, which will ensure that the affected Kieran will not trigger to reborn the Arvata to pop a card to then turn on a monster negate. So the Little Knight is a perfect summon here. And we're going straight for the Promethean. Promethean wants to dodge the banishment, but can't do so because we're going to ensure that the Promethean does not come out. We're going to keep her in grave. Perfectly played. Just like that. Targeting both cards. So Promethean doesn't summon, Promethean gets banished, and then the Kieran also banished, so we now have no way to destroy it. As we now summon our Nochi, Nochi is going to return back in the field the banished Rapengu. Rapengu is going to send from the deck a Laura by banishing the ulti Gaia, as you now make a Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep needs to be pointing to a fusion monster, and then a monster needs to be special summoned, which could be the fusion itself, to then reborn level 4 or lower. We're summoning that Promethean Prince, not Promethean, but a Protoss. Protoss is going to be declaring fire, as you saw there. Fire monsters cannot be special summoned. Big problem though, we gave them a 3,800 attack token where normally the Protoss would have not been outed, which could have continually locked them out of fire monsters from being special summoned. It's now gone and we're gonna have nothing. Now, nothing to Ritual Beast is not true because we have a Tamer Laura and a Rapengu in the graveyard, which will allow us to summon a Nochi and trigger the Laura to summon a monster from the deck. We do have plays next turn. Is it gonna be enough though? I suspect it will not. What are the disruptions here? We no longer have Promethean Princess, but we still have the Sacred King Garunix. This is waiting. Its eye is looking for our fire monster being destroyed by battle or card effect, and then you're gonna lose the duel. So if we just don't destroy the Kieran, we should be good. The problem is There's a Kieran in hand, which is going to destroy the Oak or the Kieran on field. It can destroy another Kieran, right? Yes. And then it's going to pop off from there. We're going to summon our Vata, plus pop a card in the field. We're going to have a monster negate plus a non-target pop. We do have double disruption. Normal Laura, banish from engrave to summon the Nochi. Trigger the Laura to summon from the deck a Canhawk. Canhawk, banish from the deck an Apelio. We're going to turn our field into Ulti Hawk. Ulti Hawk is going to be sending both Lauras to the graveyard to search for a Wen. We have used up our normal summon already. Canahawk's going to be returning to banish Ritual Beast back in the field. Turn them into the Ulti Kimu. Now, this is where we may want to respond. The Nochi is making the Kimu untargetable, but the Kieran is a non-target pop, and the Arvata does not need a target to negate. This is going to give us an additional summon onto the Wen to then summon a banished monster. We didn't make plays. We're waiting. Okay. Normal the Wen, special summon to banish Apelio. Then banish the Apelio and the Wen to make an Ulti Hawk. Ulti Hawk's going to search our deck, plus summon 2 banished Ritual Beasts onto the field. Now remember, all the Ritual Beasts can only be special summoned once per turn, the non-extra deck ones. Back in the field as we search our deck. We scooping. Wow. What? What? I didn't even do anything. You didn't even try? Time limit. Wow. Okay. That was interesting. Ritual Beasts outplayed themselves. That is what happens. Damn. All right. Let's hop into... Now, Snake Eye Fire King did have plays. They could have made some plays. Start this off with our Snake Eyes Poplar, which of course is limited to 1. If you open up with it, then your Snake Eye Ash play is not as good. We're going to make a Link Rebo after searching for our original Sinful, triggering the Poplar to equip itself in the back row. We do have Ash Blossom, which now is the time you'd want to use it. Negate the original Sinful mate, but then we have Call by the Grave to finger the Ash negate. I don't think so. Negate. As we now have no other disruptions left, let's speed the in-game time. As we summon Eponyx from the deck, search our deck for the Fire King Sanctuary. Sanctuary, set up the Fire King Island. Island, pop a fire to grab the Garunix. Trigger the Volcanics and Garunix to summon itself onto the field, plus another Garunix. Sacred Garunix will pop a Kieran from the deck to reborn a Fire King from engrave, to then turn the Volcanics and the other monster into a Masquerena to now make a Promethean Princess with the Masquerena. As Promethean reborns the Volcanics, as we now make a Sunlight Wolf, we're now going to turn our field into a Nightmare Phoenix behind the Wolf to trigger the Wolf to add back engrave the Kieran to our hand. Now turn the field into an Ambler Whale. Now we're going to end our turn. This doesn't look like much, but it is a lot. With the Kieran and Promethean, it's very important to note that you do not want to use Promethean Princess early. So if you're playing against this and you suspect that they may be a newbie, you would want to trick them into summoning Promethean Princess early because it locks them out of non-fire monsters, which would make it so the Masquerena cannot be summoned. You know transparently they have to Kieran before Promethean, and you can take advantage of that. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to Kieran pop Ambler Whale. Ambler Whale will reborn the Masquerena, and then the Masquerena will turn into a Little Knight for double disruption. Let's just count the disruptions here, right? So we have the Kieran to reborn a monster and pop a card in the field. We have the reborn monster, which could be an Arvata through the effect of the Sacred King Garunix searching or popping an Arvata from the deck. And so that's going to be a monster negate plus a non-target pop. We're going to be able to pop multiple cards in the field through the Skyburn. We're going to Ambler Whale reborn the Masquerena for a double Little Knight banish. We're going to have Promethean Princess on special summon, pop a monster on the field. We're going to then Ambler Whale, non-target, pop a card on the field. That is about 7 disruptions I am counting, and I don't believe I'm missing out on anything else. There we go. Kit on summon, searching for a Branded Fusion, plus returning a card back in the deck. Say goodbye to that Retribution as we now Branded Fuse into a Max C. Currently, Ash Blossom is negated by a finger if it were to even be activatable. We're going to be using that Kieran play right now to pop the Ambler Whale. We're going to be triggering Ambler Whale to reborn from engrave the Masquerena as we also trigger the Garunix, making a Lubellion off of the Branded Fusion under Max C, randomly drawing into the Arvata, which was pretty good there. Ambler Whale triggering to reborn Masquerena, as I said. Also, the Sacred King Garunix. Garunix can now pop the Kieran on field or a Kieran from the deck to then summon that Arvata from the hand. Come forth, Masquerena. We're going to have a non-target monster banish in response to this field, though. We get Brightest Blazing in grave through the effect of the Serenir as we make the non-target monster banish from Mirror Jade. What now? Ash off the top of the deck, so we now have 8 disruptions. As we're going to non-target monster banish in response to the Garunix triggering to pop a card from the deck. We're going to Forbidden Droplet, send the Quem Kit to the grave to non-target negate. We're going to Sky Burn. Holy moly, this is quite complicated what's happening. We are sending 2 cards to negate 2 cards. What's going to happen is there is not going to be 2 cards in the field to negate, so it negates nothing. So with the Skyburn being used, that's one of our 8 disruptions. We're now down to 7, as the Mirror Jade is going to non-target monster banish on the resolution of the Masquerena, which will be nothing because there's nothing left to link off with. And with the Masquerena being banished and not linking into a Little Knight, that was 2 of our disruptions. We're now down to 5. We're going to pop Arvata. Arvata triggered to Reborn from Engrave. Kirin triggered to Reborn the Arvata. And the Kirin non-target pop of a card in the field was a form of disruption, which there's nothing to pop, so we're now down to 4 disruption. With 4 disruptions left, Branded is out of juice. Very nice. Let's hop into game number 2. We have a great combo here. Branded Lost plus Albert to search for the Branded Fusion plus the Call of the Grave for a potential Ash Blossom. The problem is, what if we have our finger ready to finger their Ash, but then they whip out an infinite impermanence, which is not fingerable. RIP. Albert search for nothing. I mean, this hand is incredible. It's amazing, but not to the impermanence. The impermanence turns off the entire hand. It's now crap. You have Droplet plus a finger, 2 disruptions. Ponix on summon, searching for nothing, as the Droplet is going to be sending the Albert to negate. Now, what is Ponix searching for? A Fire King Sanctuary, which we already have in the hand. Got him. A bait negate. That was not good. We're going to set up the Fire King Island, pop in the Ponix, grab the Garunix, trigger the Garunix, to then summon and pop a card from the deck, which we're going to be fingering that card, yes? Finger the Kirin. And just like that, we're out of disruption. And because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is mostly around 1-card combos, we have our 1-card Diablo-Star for full 8,000, 20,000, 10,000 damage wombo combo. Yup. Yeah, okay. You didn't even stop my other 1-card combo, but you needed 2 cards to stop my 1-card combo because it was a bait since I already had the card that I was searching for, mate. And then after using 2 cards to stop 1-1-card combo, we then follow up with the other 1-card combo, which you're now out of disruption for. That's a 2-0. Begin. What? So this is a bit confusing. April chose to go second. All right, well, there you go. So we forced Tenpai to go first. Branded Lost plus Fusion Deployment, reveal a Fusion Monster, summon a Cartesia, and with that, we're now going to use the Branded High Spirits, reveal the Keeper, discard the Keeper, get the Albion Engraved to search for an Albion Shrouded Dragon. Albion Shrouded Dragon is going to get hit with a Droll and Lockbird. We're going to activate Cartesia. Cartesia fusing with the Albion into a Grand Grenole. And the Grand Grenole will send a card to the graveyard, which will be a Serenir. Serenir will send a Retribution, and the Albion will send a Branded Fusion. So we're now going to use Retribution to add the engraved Branded Fusion to our hand. Nicely done. Come to us. And the Albion Shrouded Dragon in hand would need to draw a card, which it can't draw under Droll and Lockbird. Now, Branded Lost states that the activation of the Branded Fusion cannot be negated. We are negating the effect, not the activation. Thus, the Ash Blossom successfully negates Branded Fusion. Negate. And to battle we go, 2,500. We did not have a follow-up Branded in White play. In order to use Branded in White with the graveyard, you have to have an Albaz Engrave. With no Albaz Engrave, we have no fusion play. Now, the Albion Shrouded Dragon does count as an Albaz, where normally that could have been a great play. And there's also this play that I saw in the TCG with Fusion Deployment. If you have Fusion Deployment in a way to get to your Branded Fusion, you would use Fusion Deployment to delete the Ash Blossom. How the heck do you do that? You use Deployment to summon a Dolphin. I haven't seen anyone in Macedo do this. So you reveal one of the Dolphin fusions to summon Aqua Dolphin, and then Aqua Dolphin, you discard a card, look at the opponent's hand, and choose their Ash Blossom to then delete it. Then you follow up a Branded Fusion. Come on, someone whip that out. We have Cartesia in the end phase, add back to the hand. Albion, Branded Dragon setting up the Branded opening. Now back to Koku with our Kaiman. Kaiman is full wombo combo, 20, 30,000 damage. Hydra setting up the Sangan summoning. While it's face up, our fire dragons are unaffected from activated effects. We're gonna grab a Chandra. Only while we control a fire dragon, we can special summon the Chandra from our hand. That's gonna trigger the Grand Granola. A monster being summoned through a monster effect to summon a Caritis. Caritis can non-target reduce opposing monsters to 0 attack during the main phase, but they're unaffected by that. We're gonna brand opening, summon a Quen from the deck. Quen on summon is gonna send from the deck to the grave nothing as the Imperm negates. Now, Caritis states that if it leaves the field by card effect, it could summon an Albaz to fuse with the opponent's field, which would be great during the battle phase, but it does not trigger if destroyed by battle. Say goodbye to Caritis, or I should say goodbye to the Quem, that is, as we now synchro into the Bident Dragon. Bident Dragon, reborning from the grave, locks us into dragon monsters only, as the Pydra also searches, is it searching? It's activating to synchro, that is. We're also gonna Magna Hut, banishing the opposing player's graveyard. This would be a Baron to floor play if we were not locked in a dragon after using the Bident effect. As we now synchro this up into Transcendent Dragon. And just like that, with Transcendent Dragon on the field, it's going to put the opposing monsters into attack position, and the opponent cannot activate any cards whatsoever within the battle phase. It does not negate, it prevents the activate. Say goodbye to Caritis, as we have Chandra being reborn through the effect of the Fadra. We're now going to reborn the Bident. We have so much more damage from here. Lethal damage. In fact, we had 18,000 more damage. What do we do if we have a Fool Loss, which is only activatable if we control no cards, but we're going first, and it would be ideal to have a card we control, which would then turn off the Fool Loss? Well, the great play is going to be, well, we'll just see. Wait, it was pass. Literally pass. Okay. Fool Loss plus Nibiru is the way. All right. Just don't do anything. Branded opening, discard some for the deck. Fool Loss would have drawn a card there, but I guess we were afraid of a Gamma, maybe? Or we want to have them further commit, possibly, to summoning cards in the extra deck. We have Branded Lost, activate Branded White, which will be a draw one off of the Fool Loss. Nicely done, let's go. Now, do we go for lethal damage here? Under Fool Loss. But then, how do we deal with the Nibiru? Do we have a way to have lethal under Nibiru or stop the Nibiru? We cannot respond to the summon of Albion. And so when do we DD Crow? We cannot, as we perform another fusion summon. Come forth, Lubellion. Lubellion is here, discard the Max C, trigger the Mercurier being banished. Again, can't respond with DD Crow. Add the Cartesia, as we now further fuse this up into Mirror Jade. Normal summon Cartesia, and just like that, Nibiru is going to be tributing off the field. Mirror Jade, non-target monster banish, just to get engrave our Titanclad. We're going to say goodbye to our Alubur. As we then say goodbye to our field, so many cards in the Tenpai player's hand here. Nibiru plus Mulcharm is all you need. Mirror Jade's going to non-target wipe out the Nibiru. You want to banish the Albion before you get to the end phase. If the branded player is the turn player, their trigger effect of Albion will activate before you could DD Crow it, but then that could, as we saw last week, could make you susceptible to a triple tactics talent. Wait, we had 2 DD Crows? What the? Goodbye to Titanclad and the Albion. End phase, aka main phase 3 for branded, is not as good now that we lost 2 of our monsters that wanted to trigger in the end phase. And, wow. Yeah, branded does not like Tenpai, but Tenpai is still here. Unfortunate for April. Let's see how Tenpai could deal with the 6,000 defense token. Let's speed this up. We're gonna make the Q-Bell, and it's now dealt with. That's it. On summon, pop a card in the field, to battle we go. Kaiman, search our deck. You would very much want to Ash Blossom that. Unfortunately, we do not have that. We're also playing a 60-card deck, decreasing our chances of having that Ash Blossom. And yeah, 20, 30,000, 40,000 damage. 2-0 victory. Begin. 60-card branded, of course. I'm going to start this off with Nightmare Throne, which is a super 1-card combo. We have no hand traps to stop it, but we do have a board breaker. We have Varudras, brand spanking new. This is a negate. We also have the Unchained Soul, which will link off of the special summon monster into a Little Knight Banish, into a Little Knight Banish, into a monster negate with the Phantom of Yubel, into pop a card with the Escape of Unchained. That is 6 disruption plus an Ash Blossom and under the effect of Max C, which our newly drawn Ash Blossom should negate. But the Varudras can negate the negate. What's gonna happen, mate? We can say that we maybe made a mistake. The mistake was, if we do not want Ash Blossom to be negated by Varudras, then we screwed up. How did we screw up? We would had to have toggled on at the start of our turn, which is automatically set in my in-game settings, and we'd have to super poly with the Varudras before they could activate Max C. Now in the TCG, what would happen is they'd say, draw phase Max C, and I'd be like, hold up, I want to do something before you do that. I want to super poly before you even Max C, and then you'd not be able to make this play. But that is only a misplay if we care about Ash Blossom being negated. If we don't care, then it's not a misplay. And didn't even negate. So just wanted you to understand that ruling. We have Albaz on summon, discard and diffuse the opposing field. Now Albaz has to remain on the field. It has to be part of the fusion summon. We're gonna super poly. This, I talked about this ruling earlier. A lot of people would be thinking, let's super poly with the Albaz plus an opposing monster, which we may do here, and I do not agree with. We would want to fuse the Unchained Rage plus another card and not fuse with the Albaz, because if we read the Escape of Unchained, it says destroy both cards. If one of the cards that have been targeted are no longer there, it does not destroy the Albaz, thus the Albaz will perform the fusion summon uninterrupted. We already passed on negating it as we responded with Escape of the Unchained. So this is an amazing response to that escape. Now, there's another problem. The Albaz has nothing to fuse with. Why? Well, the Phantom of Yubel can't be fused with. That's just part of the card. Cannot be used as fusion material. Thus, we can't use it with Super Poly, and we can't use it with Albaz. So maybe we just Super Poly with the Albaz anyway, I guess, or we just fuse with these two cards, and then we just let Albaz fuse into nothing. I don't know. It depends on if we really want to make a Mirror Jade, because we can't Mirror Jade if we fuse with these two cards. This will be interesting. Yeah, okay. So I'm fine with this now. Fine with this now under that context of we can't fuse with the Phantom of Yubel. If there was another body on the field, then you would want to fuse the Unchained plus the other body, then Albaz fuse with the other. There just wasn't enough cards on the field to fuse with. Mirror Jade, non-target monster banish. Phantom of Yubel is going to negate that Mirror Jade. And we still have the Unchained Soul of Rage. Now, the Mirror Jade states that when it leaves the field because of an opponent's card, it will activate to destroy all cards during the end phase. Now, we're going to use the Unchained Soul of Rage and then come forth and summon Little Knight. We did leave the field because of the opponent's card, even though it wasn't a card effect. It was performing a natural link summon. Little Knight is going to be jumping off the field with our Yubel and Little Knight. We're going to use the Nightmare Throne trigger to return back the Phantom of Yubel into our extra deck. We're going to use Ash Blossom during the end phase to negate the Albion branded dragon. Now, what happens here, the Mirror Jade activated, then they came back. So you could pass on Mirror Jade triggering, and then they could pass on Little Knight, returning the monsters back, and then the Mirror Jade has to try to wipe out the field of there being no monsters, and then the Little Knight will bring them back. Now, if you don't understand that, you would pass on Mirror Jade, they would bring back their cards, and then Mirror Jade would wipe out the Little Knight. You need a double pass there to have it so your cards don't get wiped out by Mirror Jade. Lethal damage with Max C. In the end phase, the turn player has priority to use trigger effects or even quick effects. So if you have multiple triggers, you don't have to use them. You could use your quick effect, resolve it, quick effect, resolve it, and the opponent with a pending trigger effect can't use it until you're done and pass with your quick effect and triggers. All right, let's hop into game 2. All right, are you ready? Game number 2, begin. Branded in high spirits, get the Sarah Near engraved plus a Titan clad. grabbing the Spring and Kit. As the Serenir triggers Ascend from the deck to the Grave of Retribution, which will recycle a Branded Spell Trap in Grave. We're going to Albion Shroud to get the Branded Fusion in Grave. We're now going to Branded Opening into Full Loss. Now, the opening, you don't know until resolution. You don't tell your opponent, I'm going to summon from the deck or add to the hand. You choose on the resolution. So we're not going to summon for the deck, so they don't get an additional draw. We're just going to normal Albur, come to us, Branded Lost. Now, normally under a Max C, you summon a Sanctifier Dragon, then pass. I believe that's what we're going to do. You don't go into Lubellion, then Mirror Jade, that's a draw 2. So we're going, oh, well, never mind. We're going into the draw 2. I guess, to be fair, Maxi would have drawn off a Lubellion Reborn from Engrave. Maybe under that context, we definitely don't want to do it, but under Full Loss, because we could summon Lubellion without giving them a draw, it's better to do this, possibly. They drew 3. They're drawing 4 now. 4 cards drawn off of Full Loss. What is going on here? We have non-target monster banish. We have Quem, which could reborn, and Albaz to fuse the opposing field. We have the Lost, which could search for a Mercurier for a monster negate. We have Super Poly fuse up with the field. That's about 4 disruptions I'm counting, yes? The Quem could also reborn the Mirror Jade instead for a non-target monster banish, as we use the Rinbrum to reborn the Albaz instead of the Quem, so that could be 5 disruption. Gia the cat is plotting. Super Poly fusing up with that D-Lotus, making our Critus. Trigger the Lost, grab the Mercurier. Quem, reborn the Cartesia. Okay, so we're not reborning a Mirror Jade, so I think we're now down to 3 disruption. We have Mercurier, Mirror Jade, non-target monster banish. Take control of a monster. We lost the non-target monster banish. And the Mercurier is not activatable. And we can't Rinbrum reborn an Albaz. So what do we even have here? Right now we do have Rinbrum now through the effect of the Grand Granole to reborn the Albaz, to fuse the opposing field, discard the Mercurier, to fuse up into a Mirror Jade. So now we're up to 1 disruption. Non-target monster banish, we're now down to 0. That's it, we are spent. There is nothing left we could do. Completely done. Summon a Yubel, Phantom of Yubel, Nightmare Pain. We could reflect 5,000 damage here. We can reflect 7,500 damage. We can, this is game. This is, well, if we can get another Yubel, as the Squirmer could pop the Yubel to the, if we play the Ultimate Nightmare, then we have lethal damage here, 7,500 damage. 25, 25, 20, we play it? Ultimate, no, we don't, no way, we could just trigger that, actually, because we have Nightmare Throne. We don't need the Ultimate Nightmare. Lethal damage, just like that. Reflect the damage and win. 2-0 victory. Damn, Ultimate Nightmare would have been way cooler. Wanted Seeker grabbing our Diablo Star within the draw phase, which helps play around a Drone Lockbird, even though the card's not that popular. With our Diablo Star summoned, we have no disruption whatsoever, so let's speed this up. We're an Original Sinful, send a monster to the grave to summon the Ash. Ash, add a Ponix, normal our Ponix to grab a Snake Eye Fireburn, since we already have the Fire King Sanctuary. It is a Fire King Skyburn, that is. Let's draw into another hand trap here, possibly, which is going to be an Impermanence, which is not activatable quite yet. Now, what are our disruptions? We have Veiler negate a monster, Ash negate an interaction with the deck. We have Kirin, which will pop the Amble Whale to reborn the Masquerena to then go into a double Little Knight Banish, so that's a double disruption play. And then we have Kirin, when destroyed, which will reborn the Arvato, which will be a monster negate plus non-target pop a card on the field. We also have Promethean Princess, pop a monster after a special summon. We then have the Skyburn, pop a card in the field. I don't think I already mentioned that. We have Amble Whale, non-target, pop a card in the field. 9 disruptions with this field. Let's go. All right. Max C in the draw phase, which wasn't counted as one of the disruptions. We're going to Veiler, attempt to negate, but the Kirin can dodge the negate. Kirin is semi-limited. pop the Ash, dodge the Veiler, as the Ash will now successfully add from the deck, and we're, of course, under Max C, drawing into a second copy of Impermanence. Ponix being triggered to summon itself from the hand, as we now add a Fire King Sanctuary. We're now going to Arvata. So what happened here? Why didn't the Poplar trigger? Could this have been a mistake on Yusef's end? Probably. Now, what happens is, Yusef could have thought, I'm going to activate Ponix and Poplar in the same chain link, and you would think that works because I don't think it's written anywhere in the rules, no rule book, nowhere, saying that you can't do that. But it's actually an illegal play. You can't activate the trigger effect of more than one monster that has the effect to summon itself from the hand. So let's say a monster says summon from the hand or grave, it's in the grave, and then you have a card that only summons the hand. You can now activate both, right? No. Because the in-grave monster, like Garunix, says that it could be summoned from the hand or the grave, it still can't be used in the same chain as a Ponix being summoned from the hand. It's crazy that you could call it ridiculous, whatever, but the Ponix blocked the Poplar from being summoned, where otherwise the Ponix could have been summoned on a different chain link, and now Poplar missed its one and only opportunity to trigger to summon from the hand. So just do understand that if you were in this predicament yourself, where you're triggering Ponix and Poplar. This is not top 8, it's top 16. But yeah, Tenpai is in the top 8. Garunix triggering Reborn, pop the Kirin, Reborn the Arvata, and we did non-target pop with the Kirin effect, I guess not. We do have Arvata for a negate. Is that an OCG ruling? That works also in TCG. What I just said. It's a TCG and OCG ruling. So you would think, you activate Ponix to summon the hand, you then can't chain Kirin summon the hand, right? You can. I'm not trying to confuse you. Kirin is a quick effect, not a trigger effect, to summon itself from the hand. So that's a legal play. Ponix, Chainlink 1, Garunix Chainlink 2, illegal. Ponix Chainlink 1, Poplar Chainlink 2, illegal. Ponix Chainlink 1, Kirin Chainlink 2, legal. That's legal. All right, now you all understand how it works and you have no questions. We're going to Little Knight banish the Hida as the Skyburn takes out the Fire King Sanctuary. I have cat hair in my nose. I promise I'm not like snorting something else. It's very bothersome. Little Knight is going to be chaining in response to a card effect activating. Say goodbye to the Diablo Star. As we set up the Wanted Seeker, we already have an original Sinful in hand, but we need a face-up card to send to the grave to activate it. And we're just like, yeah, where are we going from here? We are out. You played 2 Prometheans. Wow. Okay. Double Promethean. Yep. Now, let's talk about our disruptions. We have double Monster Negate with the Apollo. We can Promethean engrave pop Promethean on field. And to pop a special summon monster or a monster after a monster has been special summoned. It does not have to target the special summon monster itself. And then that will trigger Garunix to pop a Kirin, which will pop a card in the field, which will then summon an Arvata, which will be a Monster Negate. That is about 5 disruption. We don't have a play to make access to our Masquerena, unfortunately, since we could make an Anvil Whale instead. We're going to attempt to take out the Fire King Island, which normally is protected by the Sanctuary, so that it does not wipe out your own field of monsters. Say goodbye to the Fire King Island, which will wipe out our own monsters. Goodbye to the Apollo. We lost 2 negates. And the Kirin will now be triggering alongside the Garunix to summon from the grave. Wow. That is something. We are... So, think about this. Had we chain linked the triggers differently, we could have made it so they would not draw 2 cards off of Max C. The play would be you put Garunix on chain link 1, Kirin on chain link 2. You then change your mind on Kirin to reborn the Garunix, and then the Garunix effect to reborn itself is now nullified and they draw 1 less card. All right, summon the Arvata, if we want to do that. But then the Arvata would not have a negate, all right? We're now going to, in response to the Diablo Star summon, pop the Garunix and Diablo Star. We have a negate with the Arvata. Ready for that monster negate as we set up the original Sinful Mate. We already used up our normal summons. We have nothing to send to the grave, and just like that, Yusuf should be winning it all. But not yet. We have to do so under Max C. But the Arvata could negate the Max C, so we don't actually have to play around the Max C. Are we ready with that negate? Yes, we are. Mates, let's speed this up. There we go. Into game 3. Very nice, very nice. Let's do it, let's do it. Setting up the Fire King Island. Ash Blossom, negate the Fire King Island. And Ash on Volcanics, Fire King Island, Original Sinful, Ash or Oak summon from the deck. Those are all good uses of your Ash Blossom. Original Sinful, summon an Ash from the deck. Ash on summon, grab the Poplar. We have no more disruption in sight, so let's speed this up. And Snake Eye Fire King is actually immensely powerful, even going second. Great turn 1, great turn 2. We're going to be making a Sunlight Wolf with the newly summoned Flameburst from the deck. Flameburst trigger, Reborn Poplar, and Ash, triggering the Sunlight Wolf to add back the Kirin and Grave. Make a Promethean to reborn the Sunlight Wolf, now making an Amblow Whale. And the turn here, let's talk about our forms of disruption. What's going to happen here is, can Skyburn stop the Kirin? Let me read the Kirin effect real quick. Destroy one other fire in your hand or face up if you do special summon this card. So this card actually does not summon if we were to chain Skyburn pop their only other fire on field. I'm not saying that'd be a great play to do, it'd be insanely risky. We don't know that the Maxi is not a fire monster, but that actually is an option to stop this from being summoned if we thought that would be beneficial in any way. Now, beyond that, the Kirin, Pop, and Amblow could reborn, no Masquerena. So we lost out on a double disruption play by making Sunlight Wolf instead, which was giving us the Arvata to begin with, which would then allow us to make the Masquerena play. Now, the Amble Whale could be popped by Promethean, Promethean being a pop on the special summon. The Amble Whale could then non-target pop a card on the field. The Kirin could summon a monster from Engraved to then pop a card on the field. That's 3 disruption. And if we don't have Arvata could be gained access to through the Garunix, which would be a 4th form of disruption. Just 4 disruption plus Max C. And we have a Call by the Grave. With our finger, we could finger the Promethean, we could finger the Garunix, we could finger the Kirin effect and Grave. Kirin effect and Grave may be the most effective form of disruption to stop disruption because it's a pop and a monster negate. Let's see what we end up doing. Fire King Island. The Garunix also ties us to the Arvata being a negate. We're going to be, and then we also have to be careful. If we finger them, we could end up fingering ourselves if it's a card that we also use. If we finger Kirin, we're fingering our own Kirin. Do we want to finger? Oh no, we don't want to finger ourselves. We're going to finger the Maxi instead. Fingering their Promethean fingers ourselves makes sense. All right, negate the Maxi. We got the 4 disruption to play through. Let's do it. Summon the Garunix. Garunix pop an Volcanics from the deck, which will then summon a level 8 from the deck. We're going to trigger the Promethean, pop the Amblow Whale, and taking out the Garunix from the deck. Now, that Garunix summon from the deck will be able to summon during the next turn, during the standby phase, to wipe out all other monsters. We have the Garunix triggering alongside the Amblow Whale to reborn from Engrave, which ideally would have been a Masquerena, which you can't summon under the Promethean being on field. Garunix pop from the deck in Arvata. As I said, that's how we gain access to the Arvata, which we now need the Kirin destroyed to gain access to the Arvata to then negate. We have the Diablo Star. We're now going to Kirin, pop the Promethean, trigger the Amblow Whale to non-target pop a card in the field. That is one of our 3 disruptions, but we're using it to pop ourselves instead, to reborn the Arvata, to try to take out the Fire King Island, which is protected by the Sky Burn. And then our 1 monster negate just got destroyed, mate, by battle. Zero disruption left. Crazy back and forth happening here. Amblow Whale to pop yourself was quite nice. As we now make a Hida. Hida loves to steal opposing players' fire monsters in Grave. Your Arvata is mine. I'm going to use Original Sinful to send the Hida to summon an Ash, and oh my goodness. Full Snake Eye combo versus 0 disruption in main phase 2. Trigger the Poplar, come forth and summon, grab an Original Sinful. Poplar into Linkuriboh. Poplar put itself in the back row to efficiently use the original Sinful or the Ash. Ash sent Poplar to summon a Flameburst. Flameburst pushing the Garunix into the back row. How do we get it out of the back row? Phoenix take out the opposing player's Fire King Island, which will then wipe out the Karen, which already triggered. As we now Promethean Princess. Remember, this is main phase 2. We don't have a battle for lethal. We're going to be popping Promethean to grab a Kirin, Linkuriboh, tribute to level 1 to Reborn. Now, remember, we all said that Go First wins. Well, the Go second player looks like they're winning this. We're in a good spot. We have our Vata negates. We have the Garunix. We're negating our own Garunix. No way. Negate. We don't want to destroy our own cards. So there goes our negate. Our own Garunix will trigger to Reborn to then pop from the deck. Pop in a... You play... Wait, you don't play 2 Arvata? That's their Arvata. You stole it. And of course, they then surrender. As we have Little Knight, we have Promethean Princess. It is too much. 2-1 victory. As I said, going second, Snake Eye Fire King is powerful, as you saw there. With the help... no, it wasn't even the help of a finger. We used in-engine only. The finger negated Max C. We didn't use finger on something else, so it was not cheating with the finger. We went even with the Max C, and we used in-engine versus a turn 1 field. Rescue Ace, Hydrant searching for Preventer. I believe Rescue Ace is fully available in Secret Packs. This is an accessible deck for you to go into. Now, when you set 4 cards with Turbulence, that gives you 3 disruptions. It gives you the ability to pop a monster, to negate a monster, and to flip a monster face down. Now, all 3 effects target, target, target. If you are ever untargetable, that's a great way to counter this deck. Now, in addition to the flip face down, pop, and negate, we have Promethean Princess in the graveyard, which will also be a pop on special summon. We also have Impermanence, which will be a negate a monster effect. And that is about all we have for disruptions. 5. Period Reese map at the start of the main phase, searching for the Dark Beckoning Beast. Dark Beckoning into a Contain. Now, it's doing so much more than just containing the monster and negating it. Because we have a Hydrant on field, it has an additional effect of the monster cannot be used for Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link. It's just stuck on the field. Negate. And Triple Tactics Talent's not activatable here because we're using back row as a form of disruption. We're going to pop Yubel, grab the Squirmer, trigger Yubel, summon a Terror, Incarnate from the deck, Squirmer, special summon. We're now going to Extinguish. This is also incredible. Squirmer loves activating Engrave to summon a fiend from the hand or Engrave. It's a great play to do. Now, the Extinguish, again, if we have Hydrant, you cannot activate the effects of that destroyed monster or monsters with the same original name this turn. Completely getting screwed by the secondary effects of Extinguish and Contain. Thus, we're going to return it back in the deck to make a Phantom of Yubel, and the Terror Incarnate's going to make a Yama. We still have 3 forms of disruption. We could flip a monster face down, we could Imperm, and we could Promethean Princess. We are going to Impermanence negate the Yama. Now, Yama and Dark Beckoning, they can't link climb because the Dark Beckoning has been contained. We have 2 more disruption. We're going to return back. Now, like, that seems kind of cheating, right? It literally says it can't be used for Fusion Summon. You what, mate, right? The Contain said that? Contain can't be used for Fusion material, and it clearly was used as a Fusion material. Well, it's a Contact Fusion. It's a cheat. We cheated. Yep. Promethean Princess taking out the Soul of Anguish as we also rescue the Yama out of the opponent's graveyard. That's kind of a pseudo disruption. It's like a Deity Crow, steal their monster while we control Hydrant. And we already used the Imperm, so I think we're out of disruption, right? No. We still have the flip a monster face down, which we could do. Triple Tactics Talent with the draw 2 play, can't use Impermanence. Now back to you. If we were to enter the battle phase, the Zealantis would have the non-target effect to pop in 2 cards in the field as it's co-linked with the Promethean Princess. What is good? We have the Rescue Ace HQ off the top of the deck. That's disgusting. That's a 1-of card. It recycles back all your disruption, then draws a card. We have Promethean Princess activating to Reborn a monster from Engrave. Now, generally, you would activate Max C in response to the opponent activating an effect that draws, because they could draw into a Crossout, an Ash, a Call by the Grave. Imperm, negate the Turbulence. Emergency, dodge is the impermanence. That's it. We're not going to get negated. Summon for the deck a Lifter, dodge the impermanence, set up to 4 cards into the back row. Only if we have a Hydrant on field can we activate one of these newly 4 back row sets the turn they're set. You can only activate one of them, because they're all going to be quick play and or traps. Now we have Lifter triggering to search our deck for the alerts. The alert could add back Engrave back to our hand the Hydrant. We do have our normal summon, as you can see here. Let's additional summon with the field spell, so we still have our regular normal summon, grabbing a Preventer. To battle we go. We're going to non-target, wipe out 2 cards on the field. Pretty much after getting confirmation that they don't have a Spirit in hand to summon, let's get popping. Nicely done. Rescue Ace is back. And if people that had a bad matchup against Tenpai all start coming back, then that's when you want to bring Tenpai out back again. Even though Tenpai is nerfed, it still has a good matchup against Rescue Ace and Branded, and then you also have the Mulcharmies. It is a big investment, though. Konami had to make Pirellia an ultra rare. Why? Let's go. What's going on, Blue Eyes on the OCG? Yeah, what's going on is it's going on. I don't know, it's popping off. We have Spirit Gates into the Dark Beckoning Beast. Of course, we're playing under Max C, by the way. What do we do under Max C? We generally make a Phantom of Yubel, then pass. That's it. We give them draw 1 or a negate, 1 for 1. And that's considered having a good play under Max C. It is definitely a skill that you analyze with a deck. If your deck can't put up a single negate for just giving them 1 card under the effect of Max C, then your deck's going to be struggling a bit against Max C. As the original Sinful, the field spell, sent to the grave to come forth and summon a Hydrant from the deck, as we now trigger the effect of the Fire Engine in response to the summon of our Hydrant. Hydrant searching for the Impulse. Impulse has just turned off the use of Phantom of Yubel. Now, the Impulse actually doesn't affect the Yubel. It affects the player. The player can't activate Phantom of Yubel. And, you know, ruling scholars will say there's no such thing as affecting a player. We literally just affected the player. We're going to Turbulence, set up to 4 cards in the back row. One of those 4 cards are, in fact, activatable due to having a Hydrant. We're going to Alert, search the deck because we control a Hydrant. Otherwise, we could only add from the graveyard, as we now make a Nightmare Phoenix. With the Nightmare Phoenix on summon, we could discard a card to pop a back row and draw a card thanks to being co-linked. We're going to prevent our banish from Engrave to come forth and summon. With the Preventer being sent to the grave, with the Promethean to make a Salaman Great Raging Phoenix, that will trigger the Preventer to summon a banished monster back on the field with our Hydrant. As we now turn this into Zealantis. Now, what happens if we, the Yubel, if it comes back, is it activatable? It can't come back because it can't be special summoned. So the Impulse turned off the player from using Phantom of Yubel from negating the Zealantis, and then we banish it. You check, can we special summon it? No, we can't, so we're gonna leave it there, and then open field, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Why didn't we even banish? We didn't have to, I guess? We didn't have to. All right, let's get poppin'. Let's trigger the effect of Raging to reborn itself back onto the field. And just like that, did we like miss lethal? I don't understand. Why didn't we? Okay, because we would have, if we can't trigger our Promethean because it would not come back. Thus, the Promethean was not an additional body. Makes sense. Okay. We still miss lethal. Yeah, we miss lethal. We miss lethal. We are supposed to banish Phantom of Yubel. It doesn't come back. And then attack. See, this 800 life was the Nightmare. We did miss lethal. Yep, okay. Little Knight on summon, banishing the Spirit Gates. And if you don't think we miss lethal, you could explain to me and I'll read it. Get Fualasin. We're gonna chain banish. Why are we Fualasin? What is Fualasin? Are we just trolling? What's going on? We just Fualasin, sure. Fualas would not draw for them being banished and coming back. It's only from the extra deck and the deck. All right? Spirit in hand is no. Oh, okay. This is public knowledge. So that is why we would not have lethal, where we could have performed lethal damage. I mean, it doesn't really stop why we shouldn't have just banished it, I guess. I guess it just didn't really matter. But the Spirit of Yubel If that were to come out, we could then trigger the Promethean Princess to pop the Spirit Yubel, but then Spirit Yubel summons a Yubel, then Zealantis pops the Yubel, then Yubel summons a Terror Incarnate, but then didn't we have Extinguish activatable with a Hydrant? I don't think we had Hydrant on the field, did we? That's what we had to do. We had to ensure, wait, we did. I'm gonna rewatch this straight up. Even with Spirit Yubel, we had game. Right? Extinguish was activatable. Yeah, I don't have to rewatch it. Thank you for confirming. We had lethal even with Spirit Yubel in the hand. Now, this is not to talk down onto a player. This is just for, knowledge, for learning, for did we have lethal? What could we have done? What should we have done? What would have happened? You banish the Phantom Yubel, it doesn't come back, so we don't trigger the Promethean Princess. And then they summon Spirit Yubel on an attack. It's not within the damage step, so the Promethean's activatable. You could trigger the Promethean, then chain Extinguish to take out the Spirit Yubel. Spirit Yubel would not be activatable. Promethean would still come out, destroying your own monster, triggering the Salamangreat Raging from Engrave, and then wham bam thank you ma'am game, right? Now, do we win anyway? We flip up Nightmare Pain, we return back from the field Engrave to summon our Phantom of Yubel, summon the Squirmer. Let's turn the Almirage and Squirmer into a Little Knight on summon, banish a card on field or Engrave. And the Droll and Lockbird is stopping the Maxi from further drawing. Say goodbye to the Zealantis. Suicide into the Little Knight. Reflect 2,800 damage while we have a monster negate. Now we could very simply extinguish the Phantom of Yubel. Yes? Activate the Hydrant, searching for the Impulse. Impulse will turn off the use of Phantom of Yubel. As we now grab a Hydrant, we gotta be careful with dealing with, how was another thing? If we extinguish the Spirit Yubel, doesn't the Throne also activate? Right? There was a Throne also. I actually have to rewatch, holy crap. There are so many different variables in that duel. Now we're gonna summon a Dark. Dark is here, stealing the Little Knight. He didn't have it last turn, are you sure? Okay, then we don't have to rewatch. I'm going back and forth. Was it there or not? Did we just activate it this turn? I don't even know. Okay, we did not have Nightmare Throne. Okay, we don't have to rewatch. We are going to non-target pop a card in the field, take out the Nightmare Throne, which would have triggered off of you, taking out the Phantom of Yubel, say goodbye, and just like that, a 2-0 victory. Begin. The duplication, copying the effect of Brain Infusion is going to be at least 2 disruptions. It's going to be a Mirror Jade. It could be a non-target monster banish with the Mirror Jade plus an Albaz. Fuse the opposing side of the field with the Rinbrum play, possibly. We also have the Banishment, which could fuse with their field plus into a form of disruption, plus Super Poly, discard, fuse with the field. I would say about 5 disruption. Are you ready? Let's go. Lightning Storm. Attempting to take out the back row cards here. We're going to copy the effect of Brain Infusion and use Banishment, so we're not going to fuse with their field, and we're not going to be able to Super Poly. Reborn the Quem, copy the Branded Fusion, and fuse it up straight into Mirror Jade. So we have the Mirror Jade effect. Quem can reborn Albaz or Rinbrum. And let's see, we're gonna non-target monster banish the Chandra, sending the 1 card from hand to non-target negate that Mirror Jade. Negate. Now, the problem is, if we desperately want to use the Rinbrum to reborn the Albaz to fuse the opposing monster, it's gotta be a legal fusion. What would legally be fusible into? I would think something like the Sprind, if that were even a legal fusion play. It is, how do we call the card? Sprind. Here we go. This is an Albaz plus an effect monster special summon this turn. Was Chandra special summoned or normaled? If it's normaled, it would not count. We don't even have it. Now, we are going to start of the damage step, summon, grab a Kaiman. We can now we still don't have the sprint play, but we can't go into a Mirror Jade either. What are we going to fuse into? While the field currently is not a fusible play, there will be a synchro summon as the Albaz then summons and activates to fuse with whatever's left, which you would normally want to be Mirror Jade. Now, Mirror Jade's negated. It does not matter. Even with Mirror Jade negated, you could still only control one Mirror Jade. I know that seems like BS. It's just hard-coded in the card. Meteor Burst turns off the Albaz from even being activatable. Wow. Can't fuse. As we grab a Fadra. Fadra summon, Reborn Chandra. Big enough to take out the Mirror Jade. 2,500 to the face. Let's Chandra come forth and Sacred Shokan into the Bident Dragon. Bident reborn from Engrave. Damn. Tenpai is simply, only within this matchup, in a vacuum, better than Branded. But overall, I would say Branded is probably a better deck than Tenpai, possibly, or they're close to a similar level. Do know, I just keep on repeating this. Tenpai suppressed Branded from being good when it was dominating. Sangan summoning, protecting the Dora from being negated by the Ash Blossom here. As we trigger the Genroku to special summon from the hand, we're going to be meeting it with a Maxi. Draw per special summon, thus it's best to just end. Now, while the Genroku will not turn into a form of disruption, it will be able to turn into a Transcendent Dragon, which will turn off all effects in the battle phase from being activatable, and they have to attack, and you're forced into attack position. So you gotta make sure you do not fall for this play, because it could potentially force out a self-inflicted lethal damage within your own battle phase. You're gonna look really bad for it. We do have Droplet and Veiler though. Reveal Albaz, discard Albaz, search our deck for an Albion Shrouded Dragon. As the Albion Shrouded Dragon sends a Retribution from the decks of the grave, we're gonna Super Poly, discard the Albion before it's returned back in the deck, using up with the Genroku and Dora. So now there's no Transcendent Dragon play that's gonna be happening within the battle phase. Got Garura, we're still with the Droplet and the Effect Veiler ready. Gold Sark could banish Mercurier or a Tragedy. We're gonna banish Tragedy here. With the Tragedy, we're gonna trigger to search our deck for Aluber. With our normal summon open, whip out the Aluber into an Effect Veiler negate. At a play around Effect Veiler, it is ideal if you have Cartesia to have that out on the field. It will fully protect you from the Imperm or Veiler. As we now link this up into Anaconda, we're gonna be forced to use our Droplet onto that. Yes, Garura being sent to the grave, draw a card. Anaconda send a Branded Fusion as a cost, which we are now going to negate. Now, this is a situation. We read the Anaconda, it states that it is part of the effect of also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, which means you are negating the downside of Anaconda after Anaconda gets the Branded Fusion engraved by a cost, which can now be added back to the hand through the effect of the Retribution. So you are negating a Branded Fusion, which they can now use Branded Fusion because you negated the effect of copying the Branded Fusion. Negate. Magna Hot. Still can't you. Okay, thank you. I was wrong. Rarely happens. I was pretending I was in the TCG. The Branded Fusion states, you cannot special summon from the extra deck, except Fusion, the turn you activate this card. Some cards say for the rest of the turn. Other cards like Pot of Duality and Branded Fusion specify it's the whole turn. You cannot perform an action that would turn off the use of this card. So just by making the Anaconda, the Branded Fusion's no good. Now, we do have Duplication, which could copy it during the next turn. Branded's in a good spot here. Battle we go. They do have that one of Chandra, which we could very easily deal with the Duplication, plus backed up by the Ash Blossom. Titanclad also summoning a Quem from the deck. Quem can trigger to reborn an Albaz to fuse the opposing player's field, or Quem could reborn an Engrave Mirror Jade that was properly summoned. We have Chandra, which we're now going to get duplicating with. Copy the effect of the Branded Fusion to go into the Albion. Albion, get Banishing to further fuse, using with the Anaconda and the Albaz into the Mirror Jade. ready for the non-target monster banish. Now, this, you can't just see a field and then not think about it more. What does it mean if they normal summon a Chandra? You now know for sure, maybe, kind of, or very likely, unless they're trying to play around some effects like you just did, that the other card in the hand's not a Fire Dragon because the effect of Chandra is a special summon if you have a Fire Dragon. It's a big tell that this was a safe play to go all out on to deal with that Chandra. And then we had Ash for the Kaiman. I mean, it was like a checkmate. Deal with the Chandra, deal with the Kaiman. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. Lethal damage, taking this into game 3. We have Branded, of course, going first. And we're dealing with a Veiler plus an Ogre. Double disruption against our turn 1 play. We have Albion sending a Retribution, draw a card. Quem on summon, send a Mercurier. Serenir, banish the Mercurier. Mercurier trigger to grab an Albaz monster from the deck, which will be our kit. This is a mandatory quick effects negate. If we have any end phase trigger effects like the Albion, we don't want to do it. We say no, because by forcibly negating, it also loses attack and defense. This has 3 negates, and it will negate either player. So we passed. We passed on Albion Shrouded. So 3 negates plus a non-target monster banish plus an Ash. We can't use these other effects unless the Light and Darkness is already activating to negate something, as it will attempt to do on the Kaiman right now. There you go. That's one of our negates. Forbidden Droplet, sending 2 cards, 2 non-target negates, the Light and Darkness Dragon Lord, plus the Mirror Jade. So all that disruption now down to a single Ash Blossom. But wait, we still have a disruption to the Mirror Jade. How so? By sending a Rinbrum, even though we're negated, we could use Rinbrum to reborn the Albaz, or use the Quem to reborn Albaz to fuse with an extra deck monster. So we have 2 disruptions still. And this card's gonna be very annoying. This card does count as a chain link block. It will get blocking. So essentially, because Light and Darkness Dragon's on the field, you cannot be the direct chain link to anything to negate. As I said, get the Rinbrum Engrave. We're not triggering the Quem yet. Now, if the Mirror Jade goes to the grave, we could use Quem to reborn it. We're going to use the Quem to reborn the Cartesia. Yeah, the Dragon Lord has a purpose. Block direct chain link negates. Can't bear into floor, can't Apollo USA with the Light and Darkness on field. Protects both players. Just protection, little blanket. I know it seems wrong that a player can use 2 quick effects before the opponent can respond. That's just how it works. Grand Granule, send from the deck or extra deck, chain link block protect. As we now get send in from the extra deck of Garua, just to draw a card here. Block it from Ash. You ain't ashing, mate. It's annoying. Yes, it is. I'll speed it up. Attempt to negate. Does not attempt to negate an already face-up spell. Grab Chandra, discard Chandra, bind a dragon to then reborn that Chandra. That is what I'm talking about. Grand Granule triggering a summon. Oh my cringe. Summon a Despian Proskenian. We have Transcendent Dragon putting everything into attack position. We're gonna steal the opposing player's Bident Dragon. It is now mine. Do we summon it or we just keep it banished? Yeah, I don't want it. Keep that banished. Everything into attack position thanks to the Transcendent Dragon. Now nothing can activate. No more activations on the Dragon Lord. Now Dragon Lord would have activated if it weren't for the Transcendent Dragon, and the effect would be to target a dragon in grave and special summon it. Goodbye to the Quem. Proskenian, large and in charge at 3,200 attack. We're gonna make a Q-Belt. Q-Belt on summon, taking out that Proskenian. Not lethal damage. Uh-oh. We are going to Rinbrum in the end phase, reborn the Albaz, fuse with the opposing player's field to make our Mirror Jade, which will then non-target monster banish, right? Wait, did we already do it? No, we didn't. discard on summon, get fused. It just like that, non-target. Oh, it can reboard. Yep, 3 attacks happened. So you can't wait for it to come out to then banish it. Your Mirror Jade would be destroyed. Do we have an opening in the grave, or that was the other duel? No opening to protect from being destroyed. Now, Transcendent Dragon, I know a lot of you don't think this, it's a balanced card by the fact that the effect of reborning from the grave is only once per duel. That's it. We cannot reborn from the grave for the rest of this duel, even after 3 more attacks happen. Now, Bident Dragon can reborn still, but it's no longer in the grave due to being banished by the Despy and Priskenian. And wow, despite being at a disadvantage, Branded is able to overcome the matchup against Tenpai Dragon. Let's do it. Goodbye to your Veiler. Let's Tribute. Reborn from the grave. Lubellion set up the Lost. Brandon White. Banished from the grave. Fuse into the Sanctifier Dragon. 10,000 damage. Trigger the Quem. Trigger the Lost. We have a monster negate and a non-target monster banish mate. Over 13,000 damage. Lethal. Very well done. Good job for defending and avenging your other Branded players losing to Tenpai, but there's more Tenpai in the top 8. You didn't stop the only one. And I would very much love if you get paired up again against the other Tenpai player. Full Loss, the main purpose of it in Labyrinth, I would say, is to eat Ash. Ash stops the big welcome Labyrinth, so anytime you could have them waste their Ash on something else, that's a big win. And look at that, Full Loss back to the hand, even though it's not going to be activatable anyway, since we have to control no cards to activate it. With the big welcome into the Ariana, we're going to be activating to search our deck. Also, the Chandelier, triggering because a monster left the field through a trap effect as we grab a Lady Labyrinth through the Ariana to then summon itself onto the field. Now we're going to be fusing the Lady Labyrinth before they activate a trap trick to then chain the Lady to it to then set another trap from the deck, as we now have Garura. 2 heads equals double damage. We have Trap Trick. We're still in the draw phase, by the way. We're setting an Imperm off Trap Trick. That's a rare play. What the heck was that? We're going to be grabbing a Serenir through the effect of Lubellion here. Fusion deployment, reveal a fusion, summon a fusion material from the deck, which would be the Cartesia, as the kit is now, I mean, bro, what did I say earlier? Cartesia protects you from Veiler and Impermanence. This negate on the kit's no good, mate. So what are you supposed to do? I don't know, maybe. I think you'd have to just hold Imperm. You gotta hold it, right? You just gotta hold it. Or, until they use the Cartesia preemptively, or the Cartesia's off the field, or maybe next turn, if there's even another turn, is there? Yeah, I don't know. Using Imperm right now, I feel like is kind of giving up in a way. Let's see if we have lethal damage. This looks like 4,000 damage. It's actually 55. So a very simple Branded fusion into 2,500 damage is game. That's it. It's over. 3K, 25, plus another 25. We don't have to do anything. Titanclad for game. Yup. Hit him with the Full Loss. Draw 1 card into a Veiler. Oh my goodness, you're no longer double damaging. What the... Okay, we're going to add a Serenir to this, which you can't summon within the battle phase because the opponent has to control an opposing monster. They don't draw because it's under the effect of Full Loss, not Max C. Damn, just like that. Branded with a game 1. Whoa, I forgot there's a rollback engrave. What the? How did it get in there? Did we discard it with Chandelier at the start of the duel? Oh my goodness, I did not even know there was a transaction rollback. Uh-oh. Wait a second, let's read Trap Trick. I think we oopsied. Trap Trick states that you can only activate 1 trap card for the rest of this turn after this resolves. We already activated this. So what's happening right now is we're setting a trap from the deck that can be activated the turn it's set, but we're under the restriction of we already activated the Impermanence, so we can't activate another card. Right? So we were supposed to copy the big welcome, summon a Lady, then summon Lady back onto the field, right? This doesn't work. We can't activate that. Woes. Uh-oh. All right. All right. Yup. That's what happened. Let's hop in game 2. No way to get rollback in grave. Now, it's worth noting that the furniture cards are both semi-limited. In TCG, they could play 6 to get the rollback in grave. We're going to be grabbing a Serenir with the Lubellion here. Branded loss is essentially the death of interacting with the opponent. We're going to imperm the Cartesia, as once the Cartesia fusion goes through, you would not be able to respond to its summon, then they could chain effects to that summon. No summon for you. We're going to follow up with a branded opening into the Alubur. Alubur attempting to search. Imperm here is definitely correct. Negate, do not allow them to grab a branded fusion. And what we're left with is a Big Welcome. Big Welcome could summon a lovely return back Fuelos, then destroy a card in the field. I think that's what we got to do, right? Nah, yeah. When are we gonna do that though? I'm just like thinking like what, when, why, now? All right, let's write. Yep, this is the play. Our final play. It's turn 2. Lovely pop 1 card, taking out the Druiswarm randomly from the hand. Retribution, copy the add back the branded opening, that is, which you already activated, so that's not gonna be a big deal. But grabbing a branded fusion, oh boy, the duel is over that quickly. Just like that. That's really unfortunate. Justinian, I really wanted to see the White Forest part of your deck. You got me interested within game 1. Damn. Just saying, please, again, bring back White Forest next week. I want to see it in action. And maybe we got to get you at least into the early duel room so I could see even more of how your deck cooks. And that is it for the top 16. We'll be starting off top 8 with the huge matchup of Tenpai versus Branded. Of course, this is a very bad matchup for Branded, but Tenpai is heavily nerfed. Let's find out what happens in the next video. Let's go.